One of the
And
people that came for assistance was a guy that was abducted. His phone, okay, and he has a record of this, went 6,000 miles from the U.S. to Africa and back.
welcome. I'm here with Les Velez. Les, welcome, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's interesting times. Today, they just had the second drop on the quote-unquote disclosure. I haven't gone through it yet. I'll go through it tomorrow. I usually have a live stream, but call me highly skeptical. And we'll know how skeptical to be depending on whether or not we start or resume bombing again as soon as markets close today on Iran. But anyway, let's just get started with you and tell the audience about yourself. You know, who
Sure.
are you? How did you get into this topic? And then we'll
Right.
start the deep dive on abductions and all that
Sure,
good stuff.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you very much for having me on your program today. It's a great pleasure to be here. For me, it all got started when I was 11 years old. And I saw this object and it scared the hell out of me and ran into the house and tried to get my father to come out. And by the time he came out, it was gone. And he said, oh, it's probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud or something, you know, and I didn't buy that. And I went to the library and started reading books on UFOs. And back in those days, a gentleman by the name of George Adamski. So I was fascinated by his books, and the pictures that he had taken through his telescope were phenomenal. And so, long story short, eventually the UFO thing kind of faded in my life. I went off to college. At the end of college, I got married. I went into the service. I had gone through the ROTC program, so I was involved with the Army Artillery branch. I spent 6 years with them.
Where did you go to? Where did you do ROTC? I'm also a former Army veteran.
Yeah, University of Vermont.
Okay, yeah, I was armor. So.
Oh yeah, all right.
Or I was actually I was quote unquote military intelligence branch detailed armor, but I never did any military intelligence. They just loaned me to armor for 4 years, and then put me on stop loss. Took an extra year to, try to take me back, and that was sufficient enough for me to say I'm done. Like,
yeah, you're done. You're done. Well, I have a story about why I didn't continue on. I'll get to that eventually. But anyway, and then I had an opportunity after I graduated and got out of the service to go to work for Procter & Gamble. So I worked with them for a while, selling Head & Shoulders Crest toothpaste and things of that nature.
So that's where you go to learn marketing, right? Like it's like a marketing powerhouse, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And after a while, that wasn't my cup of tea. So I got into the electronics business in Connecticut. And an opportunity came up to actually buy into a company out on the West Coast in San Jose. And so I did. I took the family from Connecticut all the way out to San Jose, California. My daughters hated me for at least 3 or 4 months after that because they were 8 and 10 at the time, and I had to pull them out of school. And oh yeah, that was not a good situation. But anyway, it turned out okay. And I picked up the San Jose Mercury News one day, and a gentleman by the name of Stanton Freeman was coming to San Jose City College to talk about UFOs and the government cover-up. Well, that was like somebody threw a light switch for me. I said, oh my God, I got to go see this guy. And I did, and he gave one of his inimitable presentations showing all this redacted information that he got through FOIA and from the CIA. And anyway, I was all jazzed, and as I left in the foyer, there was a table set up by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, that was established in 1969 by a couple of engineers in Seguin, Texas. And so they have a monthly journal that they publish. And so I started to get that, and, talks about cases that they get involved with and everything. So that was fun for a while, but it wasn't enough for me. And found out that they had a training course for field investigators. And so I took that and I started to investigate cases. Well, the people were telling me that they were having sightings. And so I was really interested because I was a nuts and bolts kind of a guy. I wanted to understand, how these things operate and all of that. But then they told me that they had contact with these non-human intelligences, and I was rather skeptical. And I'm saying, oh no, that can't be. And what happened was that almost without exception, most of the cases that I got involved with included not only sightings, but people, again, telling me that they had contact with these entities. And so I said, oh my God, there's something going on here. And one day this person asked me, hey, do you know of other people that are having similar experiences? And I said, I do. Next thing I know, I'm facilitating a support group in my office in San Jose and on a monthly basis. And it was fascinating to hear these stories. And so my nuts and bolts aspect started to fade quite significantly, and to try to understand how can we possibly help these people, because a lot of them were extremely traumatized over the whole situation. So one day I got a call from the international director of MUFON saying that there was a reporter near me that wanted to talk about UFOs and do an article on UFOs and things of that nature. And so he said, could I give him your contact information? And I said, sure. So he came out and we had a nice afternoon together, actually. Did a great job. It was written up in the Monterey Coast Weekly paper. And shortly thereafter, I got a call from a woman down in Carmel, California, that wanted to understand what was going on with her brainwaves when she was in contact with these off-earthly entities.
It goes into theta, doesn't it? Brainwave state, right? Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I had no idea how I could possibly help this woman in understanding what was going on with her brain when she was in contact. But then she said she was working with an emergency room doctor down in Carmel. And that rang a bell for me because I had a doctor friend by the name of Dr. Eugene Lipson, and he was interested in meeting other doctors that were interested in the phenomena. So I called him up and I said, why don't we go down there? You can meet this other doctor. We can talk to this lady and just get a feel for what's going on. So we did. We went down this one Saturday afternoon. And as I'm walking in, I see this picture on the wall. And she's standing on the back of this beautiful, large vessel in crystal clear blue waters. And I'm saying, what's that all about? And she says, well, I was helping these treasure hunters. I said, really? How were you doing that? She says, well, I was in contact with the captain of the galleon that had gone down. Well, that started the whole afternoon off in a incredible way. So we subsequently found out that she had had a near-death experience and became very psychic and telepathic and started to have all these connections going on. And so she also started telling us stuff about ourselves, that there was no possible way that she could know anything about us. We didn't know her from Adam. She didn't know us. So we came away from that afternoon and saying, how can we possibly help people? Well, we probably need to set up some kind of an organization. And so the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, OPUS, was hatched that afternoon. And in 1994, we officially became a 501c3 nonprofit organization recognized by the IRS, which always cracks me up. And, we've been doing this now for over 30 years, where we are helping people, and we do this in three ways. One is we have a totally confidential online support group where we have somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people from around the world that are in contact 24/7, talking about their experiences, their cases. We also have a referral network of mental health practitioners and hypnotherapists that are fully vetted. And then we also have a triage group that basically has a tremendous amount of knowledge with regard to most of the things that we're dealing with. And as it turns out, the paranormal covers a lot of territory, but seemingly we've been focused for whatever reason by the people that are coming to us on the experiencer abduction contact type modality. And that's worked out very well because these people talk to these people and find out, how best to move forward with trying to help them as best we can. And when you go to our website, which is opusnetwork.org, there's a couple of buttons. One is a contact button. One is a support button. And on the support button, you have a couple of choices. You can either say, I want to be put into the online support group, or you can say that you'd like to have a member of the EST, which is our triage group, contact them, or you can ask for both. And so that gives people the ability to start the process of getting the kind of help that they're looking for. And then, of course, you have just a plain contact button. If you want to tell us something, you want to talk to us about something, we're always looking to bring in more therapists, because of late, we're getting so busy. We're getting 2 to 3 people a day looking for assistance. And there's no question why this is happening. I mean, all these, congressional hearings that are going on, all the podcasts that are going on, just like yours. And thank you for what you do. It's getting the word out. And so these movies, Jamie Corbell's Sleeping Dog is out there. The Disclosure Day is about to break from Spielberg. And, there's so much more consciousness surrounding this topic now that the people that were afraid to really come forward are seeing that, hey, this stuff is real. It's really happening. I'm not crazy. So
that's the question, though. What is this stuff, right? Because the government is flooding the zone with, some of it's obvious misinformation, disinformation, and then, there's a lot of it's real, right? And it's, how do you work to distinguish between the two? Because, half the time I can't even tell, right?
Well, so with AI that's going on now, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
You really have to question whatever the hell you see in a video. Is this the old Memorex thing? Is this Memorex or is this fake or whatever? But
yeah, I mean, literally the president posted a Truth Social thing showing a big, tall, gray alien that was in chains, and the reason you could tell it was fake was because the chain link was broken on one thing. But it's just, and it didn't look that too realistic. But still, the president of the United States posting a video that it was an obvious fake, but didn't say, "Hey, this is just kind of, I'm trying to be funny here," or whatever. He just posted it and didn't offer any explanation behind it. So
no, it's unfortunate that, I mean, in one respect, I'm not a Trumper by any means or stretch of the imagination, but the bottom line is that I got to give him a kudo on the fact that he's been willing to at least bring this stuff out for whatever reason that he has in doing this. Probably mostly.
I can give you two.
He's probably just
made the greatest geostrategic mistake in American history by bombing Iran. And number two, there's a system above the system where there's a compromise ring of leadership through kind of the Epstein files. And that's just one aspect of it. Yeah. So, again, I don't know if this was his motivation, but one could make a strong argument that it's meant to distract from all those things. And absolutely, based on the first tranche that they released, I think that was highly suggested that is exactly the case. Because at the end of the day, if the government were serious about disclosure, they would show evidence of non-human intelligence. They wouldn't just show these grainy photos that could easily be faked today by AI. Even, I'm not saying they're faked, I'm just saying. And then a lot of them have been seen before, and it's like, what are you trying to do here? You're just taking a bunch of videos, right? That are highly suggestive, but not in any way confirmation, and just dumping them onto the public to give them something to talk about. Yeah,
Jamie Corbell's movie Sleeping Dog has got more stuff in it than what they've released so far. So it's, well, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I mean, it's a process, no question about it. Is it a desensitization process that they're slowly doing this, that not one day that the president's going to sit up somewhere and maybe even at the UN and say, they're here.
I think we're operating in a comprehensive control system where literal reality is controlled. And Like when you said I'm not a Trumper, I don't believe in the U.S. government anymore. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think they systematically lie to us. I think it's kind of like an oligarchy versus the rest of us.
To advertise on Through a Glass Darkly, email throughaglassdarkly@gmail.com.
And I think the left-right dynamic is just a distraction. It's just a divide and conquer strategy. I think we operate in a system that is, for lack of a better word, the consensual slave system, right? Like just when you think you can pay off a house, you have inflation that comes in and wipes out that ability so you continue to work. The entire medical system is designed to treat symptoms and not root cause of things. So they keep you, just healthy enough to work. Yep. But not healthy enough to live and, retire and thrive. Right. And again, I'm not trying to act like a victim or anything like that. I think it's very cleverly concealed. But there are just certain things. And I think whatever that system that operates above the faux systems that we're surrounded by, you ever notice that things always start to move in one direction, but it would be impossible for a human cabal to coordinate, right? And like things that just don't make any sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, so many things that don't make sense these days. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of things that don't make sense, and it's like, this conscious dissonance that's going on with the mega crowd. I mean, this guy, I can't believe these congressmen and senators are backing this guy. I mean, it's just.
Well, I mean, you literally had a foreign power buy a primary.
Yeah.
That literally happened. And after that, I was done. I'm trying to say this in a way we're not voting our way out of this. I think on this particular topic, when I say particular topic, I mean consciousness, etc. The only way disclosure is going to happen is if we do it ourselves, i.e. reach out to the phenomenon or whatever it is. And by the way, when you said all these reports that you're getting are increasing, and I'm not trying to be suggestive here, I'm just correlating. If you talk to exorcists, right, the number of exorcisms that people are conducting, or the Catholic Church is like, they don't have enough exorcists. Like it's increasing. And I'm not saying that what we're dealing with are demons or angels or whatever. I'm just saying whatever the phenomena is, the activity is heightening, right? Now, it could be some comprehensive force that masquerades as aliens, demons, angels, etc. It could be us that are kind of through our own consciousness projecting. I don't pretend to know what it is, but there is definitely a quickening. And I think that if people really want to figure out what's going on, they're going to need to engage with whatever this thing is, good, bad, or whatever, because our government's not here to help us. Like our government is just a rent extraction mechanism. Doesn't matter. You could vote for Trump. You could vote for, massive. Look, I'm not a Trumper, but I voted for Trump 3 times because the alternative was war with Russia. And instead we got war with Iran. So I just deal with the proximate issue. And I knew the guy's an absolute scammer. It's just the alternative at the time was worse. So I think we ain't voting our way out of this, and I think the next election is going to go to the Democrats. That's very obvious because, the president basically told the American people to go fuck themselves. Like, I don't really care if you can't, if you're having financial issues, let's prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. And I did my master's thesis on the Iran problem 20 years ago. And I've completely changed my tune. I think we need to give them a nuclear weapon so that they can counterbalance Israel. That's where I stand right now. That's what this government, both sides have kind of pushed me toward. And I stand by it at this point. At least you'll put a rein on the mad dog of the Middle East and, give them a reason not to invade everybody around them and have our tax dollars pay for it. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on that diatribe, but I think the bottom line is we need to reach out to the phenomenon and just try to figure out what's going on. I don't know. What do you make of all that?
Well,
I threw out a lot of stuff because I'm very frustrated right now.
The phenomenon has been reaching out to us for eons.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And when these people come back, the majority come back, over 70% are having positive experiences. Their worldview changes significantly to, hey, we need to be better stewards of the planet. We need to be more loving. These are all very positive types of things. And I think eventually we will reach critical mass and we'll wake up one day and understand that, oh, yeah, they're here. They've always been here. And this is the way we're going to act in the future. We're not going to have any wars. We're going to take care of our people, and it's going to be a whole different world. And I think as these numbers that are occurring right now, people coming to us, I think the process is being sped up. And, back in 92, when Roper did that poll and they said that there was like 6 million people in the U.S. that have had an experience. Well, multiply that now, and this is a worldwide phenomena. So it's going on all over the place. So there's a different force that's going on. And again, I don't want to say they're all good or they're all bad. It seems to be a mixture because there are people having terrible experiences, absolutely horrible experiences.
Well, there's a persistent effort by the government to cover up certain, like, I can already tell you how this disclosure is going to go. It's going to be focused on craft. You'll be very lucky if we see anything related to entities or anything like that. But they are going to assiduously avoid the darker aspects and maybe entirely avoid aspects of the abduction phenomena. And particularly cattle mutilations and human mutilations are going to be completely ignored and avoided because there's some dark stuff. During conflicts, people disappear. And there are people who, like, they don't find bodies. So where are those people going? It's happening in Ukraine right now. You're not going to hear about that. You're not going to hear anything about that. They're also going to skirt around human potential issues because that's the other big no-no. I'll give you another example. I had a video yesterday that started spiking inexplicably on YouTube. Like, it was getting thousands of views from an external source. When I woke up this morning, all those views were erased. And so that's a signal to me that I need to check. So it was an interview I did 3 years ago with Lynn Buchanan talking about backdoors that the government had into Ancestry.com and 23andMe, and that there was some percentage of human DNA that could not be traced to any known haplotype in the U.S. So the system, whatever the system is, rapidly went to kind of erase any signal on my own YouTube channel. So what does that tell me? That means that's significant. That means there's something real to that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just...
No, that's fine. That's fine. This is not a straightforward situation where you have just the good guys and the bad guys. I mean, it's more complicated than that. And the motivation to do what people are doing, is it power? Is it money? Is it both? Obviously, it's both.
Well, I mean, the Trump administration, it's going to be self-serving regardless of what it is, right? So is it going to hide something, right? Like, I'm going to use a code word, like a PDF ring, PDF file ring that basically is used to, most people in power have sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies. And that's a way that the system uses to manage the quote unquote, the elites. So it could be an effort to hide some of that. It could also be an effort to try to cash in on some of the technology that you're trying to reverse engineer. And it could also just be a cover to get people less focused on the geostrategic disaster over in Iran. Or it could be all the above. Or there may have been an effort that they set up 80 years ago to, slowly drip and drab the stuff. But given, kind of after 2020 and the way that kind of the whole COVID situation was managed, there's absolutely no reason to trust the government. The way that I look at disclosure now is, what aren't they revealing? That's what the real signal is. Like, everything else is noise as far as I'm concerned. But when you say there's no good or bad, are you talking about the phenomenon, or are you talking about kind of all the factions that are involved in this disclosure effort?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. I mean, you've got the guys that want this to come out. You got the guys that don't want it to come out. The guys that are saying don't want it to come out because national security issues, which I can understand that. We don't want to open up our kimono to our enemies and, give them what we know. So that's logical to me. So it presents a problem for the disclosure side is what do we bring out? And you mentioned the fact that, and I agree with you as far as the beginning stages of the quote unquote disclosure that they're looking at the nuts and bolts part of this whole thing.
Again.
Not the contactees, not the contactee part of it.
Right.
And I had lunch with Lou Elizondo right before the COVID shut everything down. And he was interviewing Terry Lovelace, an experiencer.
Yep. Yeah, I know Terry.
Yeah.
I have a story about that, actually. Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'll add it. And
shut up, will you?
Yeah, I am talking way too much. That is totally legit. And by the way, my audience will say, well, not my people who come in to watch the video. They're like, the host talks too much. Shut up. Go ahead, continue your story.
But so he did this thing for the unidentified program. So we spent a whole day with him, and then we had lunch afterwards and everything. And that segment was never aired. And the reason why was Mellon got involved with it, and he says, no, we don't want to go down that path right now. We just want to stay focused on this. And during lunch, Lou also mentioned the fact that they understand how these things operate. And I said, element 115? He says, hell no.
Yeah, there's some...
They know more shit than we...
I know. Well, I mean, the other thing, there's two things here. So I've interviewed Loveless, too. Mm-hmm. And he had 2 implants in his body.
Yeah.
One was appeared to have been genetically engineered from his own bone. Yeah. Right? That's clearly not human, whatever did that.
Oh, yeah.
Or I shouldn't say clearly. It could, if you would subscribe to Michael Masters' theories, it could be advanced human, right? So, but it was clearly not designed by 1970s technology.
Yeah. Right.
But he also had another implant that looked like a multiplexer. You work in the electronics industry.
Yeah.
I know Terry,
I know Terry very well. I mean, matter of fact, he's part of our organization. He's an advisory board member, and he basically lives down the street, so to speak, from where I am. So I know Terry very well.
San Jose?
No. I'm in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's in Garland, and I'm in Allen, which is probably about 30 minutes apart. So, yeah, we've had many drinks together talking about this whole issue. And
you should ask him if he got his iPhone back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? He gave his iPhone to Lou Elizondo, and his sensors showed that he was levitated above his house.
Above his house, yeah.
Through the roof. And they're geospatial coordinates, pressure sensors, and all that stuff on that iPhone that prove that.
One of the people that came for assistance was a guy that was abducted. His phone, and he has a record of this, went 6,000 miles from the U.S. to Africa and back. All on his phone. It's all documented. And matter of fact,
Africa? Where in Africa specifically? Was it Tanzania?
No, I don't recollect. Right now. But when you started telling about story, Terry's information on his phone.
Have you ever heard somebody operate 30 years in counterintelligence and then suddenly they're a public disclosure advocate? Does that make any sense to you? Does that track? I'll just put that out there. You don't have to answer that question.
Yeah. Exactly.
So anyway, where were we? I didn't mean to. I'm talking way too much.
This whole thing, as far as bringing the contactees forward, it makes a lot of sense. And the government has already been talking to them, but they're not putting that out there right now. They're just not dealing with that right now.
No, they want to talk to them because they want to have an eye on the phenomena, because the phenomena is not necessarily talking to them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So, it's a complicated situation, no question about it, with all the different players that are involved in it, the types of entities that people are talking about, whether it's the Greys, the Reptilians, the Nordics, you name it. There's so many different types that we're dealing with. And we just finished up the second phase of a study, which we call the Omega-4 study. where we took therapists. We had them do a questionnaire for us, about 200 questions. And we have some pretty interesting things. The first phase is on our website. If you go into our articles and documents section, you can see some really interesting things on the first phase. The second phase is even more interesting. And we talk about what these entities are like. What are the aspects, not just the physical aspects, but their psychological aspects, is how they treat people. And is there some type of motivation that's going on with them? And we're trying to, dig in a little bit more than just saying, yeah, they look like a pretty scary thing and they're blue or black or whatever color. It's a lot more in depth now. And so we're going to be presenting. One of our members is a psychologist who has been the main investigator on this, is going to be presenting at the Society for Scientific Exploration in Denver in June. And we're going to talk about this there. And then hopefully it'll get published in their monthly journal. And that's a really good journal. It's got a lot of good articles in there. So we're trying to do more than just help these people, but we're trying to help the therapists help these people by giving them more information on how to move forward to get these people into a place where they're more comfortable with what's going on, and so that they can lead a normal life. Because a lot of times these things throw people into a place where they can't work, they can't sleep, they can't eat, their marriages break up. I mean, they have all kinds of issues. Some of them are able to get through it on their own, others can't. And so that's what we're all about, trying to continue to help people like this.
In that survey, roughly how many samples did they have?
Well, the first study that we did was back in 2007, that actually MUFON funded OPUS to do this study. And we had 71 people that claimed that they were experiencers and 51 people that were the control group. And we had them take like 9 different psychological instruments, tests. And what we found is that none of the groups had any psychopathology. Okay. They were all totally sane. They were not fantasy prone, which a lot of debunkers talk about the fact that these people, they're the woo-woo. We found out that there was quite a bit of childhood conflict in their lives, which caused them to dissociate
dissociation's a huge one.
Their worldview, as I mentioned earlier, changed significantly, in that they wanted to be a better shepherd of the planet, more loving, more kind to other people. That's wonderful, wonderful information. We also found out that their temporal lobe activity, the experiencers, was different than the control group. So that was something that we wanted to look at more closely. And then in the Omega-4 study, we did that. And so we have some information on that in the second study. So we're trying to better understand the motivation that's going on with these entities. And that's one thing that Lou Elizondo talks about, is what's the motivation? Why are they here? What are they doing? I think it's another reality that has always been with us. And this is how we evolve. This is an evolutionary process that is probably universal in some way, shape, or form. And one of the things that the big word these days is consciousness. And one day I was in the support group in my office, and a person at the end of the meeting said, "I've seen you before." "Oh, really? Where? At a UFO conference? Something?" No, I saw you on board the craft. I said, "Really? Oh, that's interesting," because I have no conscious recollection of being on board a craft. Year and a half later, probably almost 2 years later, another person, different person, comes up to me, says the same thing. "I've seen you before." And I said the same thing, where? Forgot? No. "You were sitting on this bench naked on board the craft, and you were freaking out, and they told me to go over to you to calm you down." And so at that point, I said, okay, I'm going to go get regressed. I got to see if I can dig up something along those lines. Well, I had multiple past lives. And one of them was, I was like in Sumer or something like that, way back when. And I've been drawing a symbol, a doodle, my entire life, a particular doodle.
Do you have an example of that doodle?
Yeah, sure. It's basically a cross. Can you see that? That's all. That's all it is. Just this. Okay. And then
So,
I can you see it?
Yeah, so it's basically one cross and then another cross
Yeah.
rotated 45 degrees on top of it.
And that what's funny is our opus symbol gets a little bit more complicated.
That's also very similar to the symbol that Pete Carroll created for chaos magic. So I'm serious.
Yeah,
it's exactly like that, except I think there's like pointed arrows all around. So there's something universal about it. But the fact that you said Sumer is also very interesting. Sorry, continue.
And so I did some research, and I found that this symbol was very common during that period of time. And so, anyway, again, long story short, I never found out anything with regard to being on board a craft in any of these regressions, which I had 3 of. And I talked to someone later on about it, and the person said to me, well, maybe this person tuned into a previous life that you had where you were taken, okay, but didn't come up. And one of the things are talked about is that they seem to be able to manipulate time and space. And so they can bring you back before they take you, types of things, you know? Yeah. And so it gets very complicated. And so my latest theory, okay, is that, and I just heard this the other day from another person for the first time, is that we've all had an experience, whether we consciously remember it or not. We've all had an experience. Some of us have buried it very well or needed to bury it very well for whatever it was, but that we've all had one. And it is just, once you start going down that rabbit hole, as they say, it gets really weird.
So the symbol that you saw in Sumer, did you do any research on what it meant or what it was used for?
You know what? Let me see if there's a book that I have here that, I don't know if you can see it. It says Dictionary of Symbols.
Interesting. The reason I ask is there's a researcher, Steve Mera, who is also an experiencer, and they started really delving into Sumerian and Babylonian demonology.
Oh, demonology.
Well, I'm not saying it's demons. I'm not one of the,
right, right.
But the moment they started doing that, the phenomena, whatever it may be, started going crazy with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like just crazy. So they had to stop doing some of their research.
That's like the Ouija board, people that get involved with the Ouija board.
It's all connected. Right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the skull experiments?
The skull? I'm not sure.
SCOLE. So it was a group of experiments done in the 90s where you're familiar with CE5, right?
Yeah.
Well, CE5 is really, for lack of a better word, what like an 18th century spiritualist would call a seance.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were doing these seances in a basement, and then they started to experience poltergeist activity, and it started to advance to the point that they were seeing entities, and they have video of this entity they call Mr. Blue. It looks like a gray. It's just like a blue ethereal thing on camera. But again, it's all about consciousness. And I think your point about reality, there's actually a theory in physics that touches on it. It's called E8 lattice theory, where our reality is a 4-dimensional projection of 8-dimensional hyperspace. So like a hypersphere. And then each layer of reality is like you kind of peel back an onion, and the kind of the angle of that projection, again, I'm grossly oversimplifying this, is just a separate reality. Yeah. So whatever we're interfacing with has found some way to pierce through that veil. However it might be, it could be reality vibrates at different frequencies. And the same thing might be true of time, right? When people see ghosts, right? That just might be some signal to noise, like the signal, right? Bleed over from a different frequency that somebody's seeing. So, time is simultaneous. I don't know if I'm throwing a lot out there right now that I'm trying to integrate. That may be some sort of a explanation for it, because we're not like actually solid, right? 99.999% of us is empty space. We're just vibrating quarks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. I interviewed a gal by the name of Pamela Nance, and she does a lot of research in poltergeist activity and things. And she was at a place in South Carolina, I believe it was, at an old mansion, and started to experience hearing sounds and like gunshots and things of that nature. And to the extent that this entity appeared, and it was obviously something that was going on during the Civil War. And based on this person's attire and things of that nature. And they actually had communication. And the person that she saw was looking at her and said, "You look dead. You look dead." And it was like, she was looking at it, and her feeling was, well, it was obviously dead. This is the Civil War. You must be dead. And so here's this bleeding, time-wise. And we don't understand
I don't
a lot.
pretend to know what it is. I'm just throwing out, possible theories.
Yeah.
But I think there's stuff here that's so weird.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it also borders on human potential. That's the other story that they don't want people delving too much into. So you look at quantum mechanics, right? The observer effect.
Yeah.
You can, in some sense, shape your own reality. And I think that's terrifying for them. If they had a mass awakening of that, they worry about something called panpsychic collapse, where, if true, right? If true, if people could shape reality on a mass scale, you have the only reason our reality is stable, according, in this theory, I don't know if it's true or not, is because there's a consensus reality. If that consensus breaks down, you have a chaotic reality. Mm-hmm. So, again, just speculating. I probably sound crazy to you right now.
Well, no, absolutely not. Okay, so you wanted to find out a little bit more. I just found the page here in the book that talks about that symbol. Okay. And it's a sign for ammonium salts used during the 17th century. It's also one of the old alchemical signs for the planet Venus. And let's see, relation between the number 8. There's a relationship between the number 8, graphically represented by these signs, and the planet Venus. The 8-point star was established in the Euphrates Tigris region 3,000 years earlier as a symbol for the Venus goddess Ishtar. So it's like,
it's. You said it's eight pointed. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So there's the chaos thing, kind of a symbol in chaos magic. It's basically has these same star with 8 things, except there's barbed arrows on the end, and then there's like a circle in the middle. So there's something in the human subconscious that keeps repeating this particular symbol. Yeah. Whatever it may be.
For whatever reason.
So look it up afterwards.
And a number 3. The number 3. 3 things. If I always have to do things in threes, whatever, It's just
you
weird.
Said you saw like a triangle. Wait, did you say you saw a triangle?
No. I just saw an object. It was actually an oval type of an object, self-illuminated. Okay. Yeah. But, triangles are really popular these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, the 3, right? Elements of 3,
right?
And then in the Opus 4 survey that you talked about, are there any common entities that they see at a statistically significant level?
Oh yeah. Certainly the grays, the small grays, the tall grays are probably the ones that people see the most. But also in line with that, orbs have become very popular as far as what people are seeing. And then also poltergeist activity is very prevalent in a lot of these cases. And of course, you got the usual other suspects, the reptilians, the mantid type creatures, the Nordics, and our military. Some of these people come back and say, oh, yeah, I was involved with the Greys, but also there was a military guy standing around in his uniform. So there's obviously that connection that people have been talking about for a long time that seems to be real, that our government is in cahoots with these entities, or a certain group of entities anyway. So, yeah, it's, was this guy, this general, a couple of years ago, wrote a book. His name Haim Shed, I guess it was, that
the
Israeli guy.
Galactic Council.
And that we're involved with this. We got bases on the moon, on Mars. It's interesting, that the Space Force has come about, quote unquote, all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think the person who had it probably right was Charles Fort. Are you familiar with his quote?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Earth is a farm, and we are someone else's property.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's really literally what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I have no way of knowing, but it all seems to indicate that.
Well, I mean, you do hear stories that are pretty scary about the fact that, besides cattle mutilations, you got human mutilations, and hey, we're food. We could be food. They're, whoever's harvesting us.
Well, yeah, I can't think of a specific case, but I've heard it bantered around that there have been crashes, and sometimes during these recoveries, they find human body parts.
Yeah.
Or people will be on craft and they'll see a vat filled with human body parts. Just, again, I can't point to a specific case, so this is word of mouth. It could be complete.
Yeah, I think
but
Linda Howe did a show, I think, one time, or maybe it wasn't a show. Maybe it was a conversation I've had with her. Matter of fact, she did the foreword to my book. I wrote a book a couple of years ago, The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact, which is a broad overview of the phenomena and various aspects of physical and psychological aspects of being taken, and everything from implants. You're familiar with the late Dr. Roger Lear's work with removing implants and things of that nature. So there's a whole section on that in there. And these things are remarkable. I mean, they're made up of some pretty bizarre stuff and do pretty bizarre things, and actually are transmitting in the FM band. Where's that going? Who's tracking it? Is it our guys, or their guys?
I mean, if it's transmitting in the FM band, it's us. If it's transmitting in like some sort of quantum communication protocol, it would be them.
Yeah. Roger Lear talks about, he says, no inflammatory rejection reaction by the body to these foreign objects. You get a splinter in your finger, you got it. No visible portal of entry. Collections of specialized nerve endings surrounding the object, an outer coating of ceramic biological material, a metallic phase where inorganic metal becomes biological tissue, the emission of radio waves, which are deep space frequencies in the FM band. Electromagnetic.
So what is that? 1.6 gigahertz?
That's the one that they're talking about on the Skinwalker Ranch thing.
Well, by the way, that's the frequency we use to communicate with satellites in space, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's suspicious to me that they're picking
electromagnetic fields in excess of 10 milligauss, composition of meteoric iron 66, rare earth metals such as U-236, a single isotope of uranium existing by itself, as well as elements such as uridium, which is very rare in the Earth's crust. This is the part that's really interesting. Non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating the involved elements did not come from Earth. Well, and then it goes on. He's got a number of other aspects. But anyway, should read his book if people haven't read it, Alien and the Scalpel. So it's a pretty interesting read.
And you're familiar with the apport phenomena, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just imagine if you had a technology where you could literally just apport those objects into somebody's body.
Yeah.
Right? And that way you don't have any signs of entry or exit.
Yeah.
It's just there.
And that could be exactly how it's being done. Absolutely.
Maybe. Again, everything I said is speculation. Again, because after the last 5 years, it's hard to believe anything unless you have direct knowledge or experience of it. Right. And I'm talking, once you start asking these questions, right, you start asking well, did the Civil War happen? You know what I mean? How do you know what happened? Well, it's because it was in a book. And somebody wrote the book. Now, I believe it happened, right? But the reason I believe it happened is my father has a discharge papers of a great-great-grandfather that came out of there. So I know it was real. But
Well, that's where,
You start
you
asking
talk
questions.
where all
What's
these
that?
people that I was going to say, that's the same thing that goes with the Holocaust. A lot of people nowadays say, "Oh, it never happened."
Well, what happened? I think the numbers were probably inflated, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm not. It definitely happened,
Oh yeah.
but again, I haven't spent any time like
Well,
looking
this
into
is the
it
thing,
like
though.
that.
How could people not believe that with all the evidence that's available to people? And this is the same thing that's going on now with our politics. That such crazy crap is going on, and
I know.
these people that believe it are just freaking insane.
Well, the other thing too is there's some stuff out there that sounds literally insane, and then you start digging into it and you find out it's real. Like the whole Epstein thing.
Yeah,
like people are like, oh, "You're crazy. That's impossible. That would not." And then you start digging into it, and you're like, "No, this is real. These people did these things."
Oh yeah.
And and they're in our government now, and that's why it's not being right. I mean, let's take Howard Lutnick for example. Like, there's a fucking mask of him, like some ritual mask that they had hanging on the wall in like the Epstein. It's just like you can't make this stuff up. So, again, let's take the Holocaust as an example. I can't tell you if it's real or not real. There were definitely an extreme, it definitely happened, but the details, there's so much muddying of history that I can't tell you with confidence that, it was 6 million, it was this and that. And I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago. But after COVID, I mean, just remember, I got to be very careful with this. Remember the pandemic, right? If you said, hey, there's Wuhan Institute of Virology for novel coronavirus research, like right down the street from where this thing broke out, and you're saying that there were a bunch of savages at a wet market and it just escaped from the wet market? Oh, no, you're a racist. You think it was a lab leak. I'm not a racist for thinking that these people were eating like animals and what? Right? So anytime there's a reaction like that, I immediately question what the narrative is. I immediately question what the official government narrative is. And you have to be that way because that's how this control system is maintained. So again, unless I physically experienced it or have physical evidence of something, I'm literally open to any potential narrative because our government has been systematically lying to us about literally everything from at least since 1947, right? With the advent of the national security state, et cetera. And the only reason I would think that would be the case is that our reality is managed. And even human beings, the way that we're designed, it doesn't make any sense, right? We don't see into the ultraviolet spectrum. We don't see into the infrared spectrum, but animals all around us do. Bees see in ultraviolet, et cetera. It's almost as if our senses were deliberately engineered or retarded to not see certain areas of the light spectrum so that literally other things can surround us and monitor us and we wouldn't see them.
This is a thing that happens with people in a crowd. Some people will see a UFO and others will not see it in that same crowd. Okay. And I believe
in the same crowd, there are cases where someone sees a UFO and someone else sees an angel.
Well, that's a whole nother layer of
there's something
reality.
About co-creation of reality, right? And perception.
Yeah.
Where there's something out there, right? Well, some phenomena that hacks into your consciousness and is able to project itself in. So for instance, why in the 1800s and things like that, people were seeing fairies and jinn, and the fairies behave exactly like rays do today, where they abduct people. There's missing time. There's the changeling phenomena. I'm not saying they're the same thing, but I'm saying that.
Well, it depends on what you're brought up with, your life experiences at the time. It's exactly. Like the Indians when they saw the ships coming. Columbus's ships. They had no They couldn't fathom what the hell that was.
They had no emotional, or sorry,
right,
like Rolodex in their minds or database that they can pull from.
Exactly. And, we haven't talked about this, and I don't know if we want to get into this, but the bottom line is that, we have people now that from an evolutionary standpoint are ahead of a lot of us. Gary Nolan from Stanford University has done some research on these people, and they find in the area between the caudate and putamen area in the brain, there's a lot more connections. And these people seem to have telepathic psychic abilities, and it runs in families. And what he's saying is the fact that, geologists say that our planet is 4.5 billion years old, right? But in order for man to be where it is now, especially with these people, this planet would have to be 9 billion years old, so that the geologists are wrong, or somebody screwed around with our genome to get people in this way, to have that kind of connection.
That reminds me of a question on your survey, the OPUS 4 survey. Did you ask anything about ethnicity or blood type, anything like that? Rh negative factor?
We did not. Okay. This was more psychological than, blood work and things of that nature. But the full details are going to be, except for the second phase of the omega-4 is on the site. But yeah, Rh negative is very popular. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think. I've dealt with that in a presentation I made years ago, and I have to dig that out right now. But the bottom line is the fact that, there is some peculiarities as far as the experiencers, what types of blood types they are, which seem to be very, very popular, if you will.
And this came from Elizondo, I think, but is there any correlation with people of Celtic or Cherokee descent?
Sort of a common thing where you have Native Americans that are very popular. Military people, military families seem to be another hot spot. Yeah. And one thing I always say is that our Native American friends are very comfortable with all of this. They got their arms around this very well, seemingly. We don't see many Native Americans coming to us for help. Matter of fact, I don't think we have any.
Yeah, we should probably go to them for help, actually.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
And then anything else that you think that the audience might want to learn about you, your organization, or this topic?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Sean, thank you very much again for having me on here with you today. It's really appreciated. And thank you for what you do and getting the word out on a lot of very interesting topics. Yeah, our organization, you can go to our website, which is opusnetwork.org. There you'll find a lot of helpful information. You can contact us through our support button there if you're looking for help. We also have a YouTube channel. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and the YouTube channel, if you could go there and hit the like button, all the standard stuff, that helps us out since we're a nonprofit. And we're also looking for more therapists, okay? Licensed therapists, credentialed people, hypnotherapists. We're always looking for more help in that regard. And if you've got the kind of background, we're always looking for more triage people that have a good handle on a lot of this type of information so that they can interface with these people. So we're always looking for more help. And we have a lot of information in the articles and documents section that might be very interesting for people. It's very helpful information as far as for experiencers specifically. And I don't know, my book is on Amazon, The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact, which gives you a tremendous overview of the phenomena in a lot of detail as far as implants, all the physical aspects of it, and automatic writing. There's a whole section on what people have given to us as far as the automatic writing that they've been doing and why they needed to do it. And
actually, can you jump into that really quick? I know we're out of time.
Yeah.
But just
sure.
Really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, there seems to be a real compunction for a lot of these experiencers to all of a sudden start writing. And the languages are literally uncipherable, but seems to have a tremendous amount of meaning to people. And there's a gentleman who's since passed away who was at Harvard, a gentleman by the name of Puglisi, who gathered a lot of examples of this automatic writing that was going on. And he was never able to decipher any real meaning in any of this. But the simple fact of the matter is it is so varied. I mean, some of it looks Arabic, some of it looks Korean or Japanese, but it's not. It's not. And so we only present that in the sense that there seems to be a significant compunction for people to start writing this thing. And I think Spielberg's new movie, Disclosure Day, one of the scenes that they just showed on Stephen Colbert's show, Steven Spielberg was on there the other night. A guy taped this gal clicking, making those clicking sounds. And he said, you know, when I first heard that, I didn't understand it. But now, for whatever reason, I'm understanding it. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of this type of information, we haven't understood it so far, but I think we will at some point. And I guess the main focus in his new movie is more about empathy and how significant that is. And so, I mean, it's just mind-boggling, all this information that's hitting us right now and where it's going.
Have you reverted back to this automatic writing, these symbols and stuff like that, given the advent of AI and maybe having AI systems start to try to interpret?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's a good question. Have AI take a look at some of this stuff. Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to need some sort of Rosetta Stone to figure it out, but maybe they can look at the commonalities.
Yeah, no, that's a good suggestion. That's a very good suggestion. Maybe something for another book. It's like,
oh, I'm sure if this guy at Harvard was doing his thing, I am very sure the government's already fed this thing
done that
10-year-old AI. Yeah,
for sure.
All right, my friend. Any final words for the audience?
No, just have a wonderful day. If you've got any issues yourself or any friends are looking for assistance, please have them hit our website at opusnetwork.org. And we appreciate any donations you guys can give us as well. So keep the doors open.
And I'll put the links below in the description for the audience to
thank you, Sean. Thank you very much. Appreciate being here with you.
Thank you very much, Les. It was an absolute pleasure. And sorry, I was feeling frisky this morning, so I talked a little too much.
That's good.
All right. Well, thank you again, and talk soon.
If you enjoyed today's video, please hit like and subscribe, and also hit the notification button so you can be notified whenever I post new content. Thank you. Now, if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support it, there are several things you can do. In fact, there are 5 things you can do. The first thing you can do is just buy my books. I got plenty of books out in the market right now, and I would prefer that folks buy a book rather than giving me direct support because they get something out of it. They get a real tangible product. The second way you can support me is by becoming a member on YouTube or becoming a patron on Patreon. And just go to either site and it'll explain everything. The third way you can support the channel is by checking out my merch site, which is here. There's plenty of stuff that you can get to support the channel. And I'd appreciate that you have it and you can wear it. Not only do you help support the channel, but you also help promote the channel, and I appreciate that. The fourth way that you can support the channel, and this is really easy, is anytime you want to buy something on Amazon, literally just go to the description below and click on any link, literally any link. The channel gets a cut of that, and it costs you no extra money. You just go through the link, as I'm part of the Amazon Affiliates Club. The fifth and final way you can support the channel is through donations. Now, I don't prefer these because it's more of a expression of gratitude, but you don't really get anything out of it as a subscriber to the channel. However, if you decide to do these options, there's two options. There's Buy Me a Coffee, which is a separate site. And there's also, you can go through YouTube with either a super chat, super sticker, or a super thanks. Again, I prefer Buy Me a Coffee because that organization takes less money than Amazon does. But either way, I appreciate any support you are willing to give the channel. So thank you very much and keep watching. I really appreciate it.